My name is Irit Neidhardt. I'm a distributor and a film scholar focused on questions of Middle Eastern cinema, let's say. I'm the moderator tonight, and next to me sits Göran Olsson, the director of the film we just saw. He's a director and a producer, working a lot with found footage, making a lot of films based on the material of others, let's say. He studied filmmaking. He studied at the Royal Academy of Fine Arts in Stockholm, and is directed to several films. Among them, I want to highlight Concerning Violence, which was shown at the Berlinale in 2014, and tonight at the Pallinale. And you'll have the chance to see it again on Sunday at 6 p.m. in Lichtblick Kino. He's the inventor of some cameras of which I don't understand anything. And he is also the editor-in-chief and founder of the short film documentary program Icon on Swedish public TV, the channel of which we just saw the material. And we leave it here. And I wanted to start asking you, I will ask some questions and be open to you. You started this film before the 7th of October and the following war on Gaza. And I wanted to ask you, what triggered you to make a film both on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and on TV history? I mean, it's both.
Yeah, I hope you're still alive. I feel guilty for the duration of the film. And Lars, the producer from Swedish televisions, said always, you have to be shorter than 3 hours. But we couldn't do it. And we had more test screening on this film than any other film. And we asked all the audience, where should we shorten it? And nobody came up with a suggestion. So this is what we have. No, we started, I think, 5 years before the 7th of October, 2023. And before I go into that, I have to say that it's nothing special with me, but spending so much time, 5 years, looking at that material, and then see history repeats itself, was too much for me. And I knew that something would happen in the Middle East, that it would explode, but I had no idea it would be on this magnitude and what we have seen the last 2.5 years. And seeing that, experience that with this in my total system, I'm totally still depressed and despair. So I'm not the man I used to be. And I'm not, of course, any way the victim here, but it took a toll on me. So I have trouble even thinking about this due to that process. But as I said, I knew that it was predestinated that something like that should happen, but I had no idea that it would turn out on that, in that scale, and that horror. And still today, it's unbearable.
Given the fact that that the film is shown in this program of the Critics Week, Argue Against and Argue Again, I was wondering again, because you pick up not only in this film material of others, what is it that interests you in taking previous material? It often has to do with, from the films I know, with colonial situations, let's put it this way. What makes you pick this material up and work on it and make something new out of it?
Okay. No, I used to be like an ordinary documentary filmmaker that went out to the world and filmed it and made film, blah, 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 with a social consciousness. But what happened during the last 25 or 20, 15 or 10 years, I don't know, it's the development development in technology, how you produce films with the access of camera. This was really exclusive. There was no other moving images produced but with this company structure. So, but for me, I think that contemporary filmmakers should just do films about their own community, about their own issue, about their own reality. And my reality was really, really dull. So I have to find another way of doing films. And I have an ownership over these images because they were produced for me and all other Swedes also. I grew up with this. This is my. It could be any other person's material also, but this is the only images I have at my disposal to make films about, because I have a leverage and ownership over this. So I couldn't go outside and film something in Berlin and make a film about that. That method is long gone due to technology, and I think that we should seek stories that is done by filmmakers from within the community. But I could do with existing material that I have some ownership over.
It's very hard to see you, but if you have questions already, you can raise your hands. There is a microphone. We will get it to you. Yes,
Thank
please. Can you take the microphone?
Thank you very much for the great movie, and it was a very unique experience for me, and I didn't feel passing of time at all personally. I have two questions. First of all, what is your method when you're actually dealing with so much archival corpus? I don't know, maybe hundreds of hours of archival.
3,000 or 4,000. So.
Yeah. And so do you, for example, identify some specific points in the, for example, history of this conflict, and then try to find archival material related to that? Or you start actually diving into the archive and you plan gradually what you're going to actually show? And the second question that I had was that how your own understanding of this conflict changed while you were working on the movie, before starting and after finishing the movie. Thank you very much.
Thank you for it. The first question is really great, and you mentioned two different methods. Actually, and I haven't thought about that before you said it. You do the both at the same time. You dwell on one point and try to see the border landscape simultaneously, and so it's very hard to put in words what we are doing, because that is all we do. We sit in that room year after year, talking and watching and talking, trying, blah 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 blah. So I'm not suggesting there is any magic to it. It's just hard work, but we can't explain the method because it's all we do. It's picking this and trying to connect the pieces. But in this case, it was special because we really wanted to make a representative choices to see different aspects. And the story, there is different small stories within the film. One is definitely the development of the Swedish television, how they portray this situation in the Middle East, and how they talk about people, because they don't mention the word Palestinian the first 5 years or something, and that, I think that is we screened it a lot in Sweden, of course, and nobody had any arguments that we did the wrong choice or anything. So this was special, but so it's just ordinary work for us. And it was funny you said, so we both gradually and suddenly, in a way, you work, but it's obvious. But some some events like the Olympic in Munich is so exposed in documentaries and films. So we try to make that shorter in a way because it wasn't too free. I mean, it's telling the same. So yeah, so obviously, but yeah. And the second was if my opinion about the situation changed.
Yeah, the question was that how your own understanding of the nature of this conflict. How your own understanding of the nature of this conflict changed throughout making the film. I mean, comparing before you started and after you finished the film.
Can I add a question to this, just to make one answer out of two questions? Also, while you were working on the film, the 7th of October and the following war on Gaza occurred. So maybe you can say how, like, answer both questions.
No, I would say that my understanding of this we don't use the word conflict. You could say I don't mind if other people, but the film doesn't, because it have implications that is not correct. I think it's different situations. It's a colonial thing. It's blah blah blah. It's so many things. Also, what happens after the 7th of October is totally different things that I think you have to separate. And also, but I would like to think that I have this exactly the same opinion before entering this film and during the editing, and I have the exact same opinion about Netanyahu and the Hamas as I had before. And I think I can't understand why I should be unique, because when I was growing up, and I romanticize this, but in the 70s, in my neighborhood, it was not uncommon at all that the teenagers of the household had the Palestinian scarves and went to demonstration. At the same time, you had this money box collecting money for an ambulance in Israel. I always had this duality in my mind. There is one thing about this state that is existing and acknowledged by all the world, but there is also now a genocide or a slow genocide and an oppression and a colonial blah, blah, blah. It's not only two different, it's the different things, and I still think the same. So you could beat me to death, but I will not change my mind in that.
But how, like, while you were working on the film and you are in this editing process, and then the 7th of October and the following war on Gaza started, how did this influence your work on the film, or did you take, like, how did you handle the film and the reality outside the editing booth?
My standard answer to that question is we didn't change anything, and that's true. However, I think there was actually one short film about image of Netanyahu in the back of the film that I removed because I didn't want him in the film. But no, we didn't change anything, and I think my film looks old when they are new, so they look old all the time. So it's nothing different, and we try to, with the graphic, with the music, with the editing, do it in a very correct way. So it's not like seeing a film with a narration, excitement, and editing, and we want to tell this message. Blah, blah, blah. This is more like, you make up your mind. You do the math, and we trust the audience with the help of Wikipedia. So we're not like But back to your question, I don't agree with any of the borders in Africa. I don't. We're living in a colonial world. It's not. I don't like Sweden. I would like Sweden to cease to exist. So it's a different level. I don't like the national state at all. So it depends on where you. I don't agree with the borders of the colonial borders of Africa, but they are there now. So you can't fight them. You have to put the effort where it is. Sorry.
Is there another question in the room? It's very late, I know.
I just wanted to say, wasn't Swedish television rather special in Europe?
Can you ask with the oh, please.
So I've seen other material which came out of Swedish television. I can't imagine that kind of footage being shot in Germany by German television in Israel and Palestine, or any other country for that matter.
I think two things that were special, three things. First, we were neutral at this time. This is a peak of the Cold War. So Swedish reporters could go to both North Vietnam and South Vietnam. And then Sweden had, I say we, but I don't identify with that, with Sweden anymore. But Sweden had a reputation of the Nobel Prize to Dr. King and so on, to have a lot of foreign aid and international solidarity with the movement, the liberations movement. So people and Sweden were not seen as a colonial power in the sense that France and Belgium and England. So and this is also important. Lars knows also all about this, but Sweden was a rich country at the time. And they decided that Sweden should be neutral. We shouldn't buy media from France or Great Britain or America, or God forbid the Soviet Union. We should produce all the material. Swedes should tell about the world to Swedes. So we kept it that way, and they could go, and they were welcomed in so many places in a way. So I would say it's unique, but the Netherlands, you could compare with the Netherlands. I don't think they have had the same access because of being a part of NATO, and Germany as well, maybe, and France, and also the French people. They're so snobbish, so they didn't really connect to ordinary people because. And the British are even worse. So I think that all the reporters doing this material, they really had an agency and a wish to speak to all the Swedish people, no matter class and education and so on. So they want to also connect to ordinary people on the ground. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very special.
There was another question behind. She's gone. Okay. Is there another question? Yes.
It's about this AB Nation scene where the ship, like on the coast or near Palestine and Israel, and this 30 minutes of silence. I really liked it, and I wonder whether there was any strong influence on this activity, or like a perspective on it from Sweden, or it's like a bit like a counterpoint to the rest of the material. I'm not sure whether you've got anything to add to it, but
which
the scene, it's AB Nations who was running this radio station, the pirate ship, on the shores near Israel in international waters, and he had a 30 seconds silence with a sunset.
Was there any? Sorry, I'm kind of tired.
I was wondering why you were choosing this, and whether it was a strong influence of his activities, or was it strongly broadcast on Swedish media? I quite liked it because it was quite a contrapoint to the rest of the material.
Okay, sorry. Yes, no, I thought it was really noteworthy that they had a minute of silence in prime time news programming in Sweden, that they allowed themselves to have that interruption, and it worked fine in the film as well. Was maybe not the answer.
I think it's an answer.
So no, I think that this was a huge. Maybe you also want to show that this is a huge topic at the time and today as well. But it was something that was on telly every day, and this was one of them. And he, the radio guy who had this radio station, actually provided by John Lennon, he gave the money for it, and he went to jail because talking to a Palestinian on telephone, on air, and then he came to Israel. He was an Israeli citizen. He went to jail for having spoken to a Palestinian. Voice of freedom. Voice of peace.
Maybe one last question, because the film was released 1.5 years ago. Can you just say very briefly how your experience is in traveling with the film also in different countries?
We were amazed by the reception of the film, and it went to cinemas in America, which I didn't think, this fall. In 7 cities in America, it was in theaters. So we had a great ride, except Germany. This is the first screening in Germany, so that was, and we really tried. But that's something we could discuss tomorrow at the seminar. But and we had great reviews, but I feel so bad about what's going on now. So it's terrible, basically. And I think that we use, this is not the first film, as you mentioned. It's almost like a Nostradamus thing, that we take something from the past and say, this is not good. This is something we should have adjusted back then, but still we haven't, adjusted for this. And I feel that we have a stronger case when we say that we've known this for a very long time. Because all the images we could collect from this week, it's much worse than anything in this film. I say, maybe not all of it. You know what I mean. So, and people ask me if we're going to do a sequel. I would love someone else to do it, but I can't see it because it's so depressing. But I'd love to someone else. And also this about you making films from used footage is kind of accessible, and I encourage all young filmmakers to try it, because it's for free until you promote the films. You can download it. So different question, maybe different topic.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for staying so long. And some of us will meet tomorrow. And for the others, I wish a good journey home and a good good next days of the Critics Weeks and the Berlinale and the Berlinale.
And we will again like to thanks for having the film, and not only our film but all the other film, and the programming is so well done, and it's a perfect film festival you have going here. So keep up the good work, and we return next year as an audience. So thank you.
Thank you so much.